Tony, you had a book launch party this past Thursday. The Bolero of Andy Rowe will be in bookstores soon. It's your short story collection. And it's drawn against the Los Angeles landscape and crossing generations and borders. Your debut collection of interrelated stories delves into the world of a young woman of Mexican and Irish heritage and gives an intimate account of one family's passage from the immigrant story to the American story and the cycle of loss, adaptation, and rediscovery that is innate to that experience. Can you tell us how you are contributing a short story that's outside of this collection? Can you tell us how the short story that we'll be publishing later this month differs from the stories that are in your short story collection that's being released this month?
Sure. So the collection, all the stories are basically set in California, and they're about Andy Rowe, and she's this character. Her mother's from Mexico, and her father's Irish American. And I wanted to explore how her parents even came together and how she came to be and what her life is like. And the story also features Andy Rowe, but she is traveling. She goes to college in New York, and she's away for a year in Europe. So she's on holiday in Ireland, and it's very much based, the story, on a trip I took to Ireland and being there, looking the way that I do, and also feeling this connection to the land and the people because I'm part Irish and wanting to, feel like I belonged there and coming across some obstacles. So it's called The Recurring Pint. And so we see her in this very different setting, and she's reflecting on her grandmother and her grandmother's relationship to her mother. They were very close, and just wanting to have that connection and finally feeling like she's closer to having that being there in this other country.
You will enjoy it. June 28th, the next issue launches. So I hope that you like the short stories and the poems and the photo essay, which is contributed by Emily Rabato. Emily is an author as well as a photographer, so she shares a few things in common with Rachel Eliza. And she went to Ethiopia to work on a piece for a transition magazine on Ethiopian Jews. I will show you a few images from her photo essay. So another example of trying to close that distance. Rachel, can we go back again to your photo essay? And language and image. You said that nothing personal is a very fine and precise American self-portrait. It was published in 1964. The question is, how has our American self-portrait changed in the past 40 plus years?
I will say something, but I couldn't begin to answer that. I mean, I feel that there are certain traits of Americanness that pervade the stories of the immigrant story, for example, is a very, I feel, almost common thread, and the articulation of it, the nuances of it shift, but the struggle, the sacrifices, the silences, the triumphs, all of those things, the sounds of it all contribute. One of the things that I love about Nothing Personal is that you could read Baldwin's writing and feel that it was written this year or something. Much of what he says is so truthful. Naomi mentioned truth-telling, and I think I find Baldwin one of my dear truth-tellers. But as a poet and a photographer, I'm always interested in self-portraits. And how does that work in language, and how does it work in image? And if we looked at the last, couple of years of images of this country, how would they reflect the American self is something that I'm interested in. I think it would be a very fractured and I'm saying interesting because I can't think of a word that could begin to lasso all of the disparate elements together, but a very kind of compelling self when you look at war, interior, exterior, politics, self-exile, imposed exile, and then if you even zoom in with the culture of kind of tabloids and materialism, and we're all connected on the internet, but at the same time we're all lonely. We're all sitting home alone, thinking that we have this culture that is virtual. For me, virtual will never take the place of sitting here in this room with these people and knowing that there could be like 50 heartbeats going on right now. There's just something about that that I don't want changed. I don't want to be poked on Facebook. I want to see people. And so I think it also, what seems to be very popular right now in our country is that we can kind of create and do kind of surgery on ourselves that's kind of cosmetic, that you could have this invented self online or through your work. You could have many identities. I was just reading in the Times about this man who created this, I think, Liberian woman, or he created a persona. Did any of you see this? That he pretended that he was a woman who, Syrian, thank you. And he totally made it up and had people really upset and bothered and afraid for this woman's life, that she had been kidnapped and no one had heard. And it just was utterly cruel when he was, of course, found out that this was this fictional voice, and he never meant for it to go that far, But accountability, that you could put things out in the world and no one can find you or trace it back to you, or there's just this kind of self-imposed, like, tweeting every minute what you're eating for lunch, what kind of shampoo you use, so that everyone has this kind of visibility that is sometimes falsely inflated in a certain kind of way. And I'm wondering what that lends to. Why are we obsessed with celebrity babies and celebrity strollers, and what's going on with all the food and the water? And there's a lot of ways that this isn't, in my mind, much different from the 50s, or if you went back further. I don't know. I don't think it's like the 60s, but I think you could leap back and see
The similarities.
the forefathers and foremothers at their laundry machines and out on their lawns waving.
And the opening of Baldwin's essay touches on him having or holding the remote control gadget and streaming through channels and going from commercial to commercial. And the images are striking. Looking at or reading the images as he presents them makes you look at today's images and think, he was an amazing visionary.
Right.
The words are so timely.
Right.
So timely.
And that image of him kind of saying that the only way he can watch television, he feels, is just to kind of passively flick the channels, and that he never really lingers at any channel because it could be any channel, I feel like he could flip a channel and the women that he described are Snooki and these housewives and this reality that is not. So
he described one woman in her eyes, I believe he said that they were, they had the sensuousness or the mystery of jelly beans.
yeah.
I love that line.
Yeah.
And you can see, that sums up Snooki. It's true. Prophetic words.
I could piggyback off of that. And thinking about, nothing personal, and, what you were saying, what really struck me was how he talked about lovelessness and despair, and that's something that I'm really interested in my work too. And, as cheesy as it sounds, talking about love, what does it mean to be, part of a culture that is without love? And kind of, so some of what I've been working on in my, research, my graduate research, is looking at, Ellison and Baldwin and, our current society, and kind of defining what does that mean to be in a society without love? What does it mean to really know someone else, to interact with them? What does it mean to be a responsible citizen? So that's something that, really stuck out to me in Nothing Personal too, that seems, timeless as well.
Mm-hmm.